Coming up next on AVID Achievers, we will talk with AACPS alum Chad Sanschagrin. Hello, and welcome to AVID Achievers. I am your host, Dot Arida, coordinator of AVID. Today on AVID Achievers, we will talk with AACPS alum Chad Sanschagrin. Chad is the founder and owner of Cannonball Moments, LLC, a corporate consulting and training company. Chad is an international speaker and coach who helps companies invest in the greatness of their employees, leading to success. He employs the same methodology when he comes to speak to our students and staff. Chad is a valued community partner with AACPS, and we are happy to have him here today on our show. Thanks for joining me today, Chad.
Thanks for having me.
So your partnership with AACPS started 2 years ago when we were getting ready to host the AVID Student Leadership Conference at Northeast High School. There was a lot of discussion of who our keynote speaker would be at Northeast, and through our Facebook connection and seeing your adventures and misadventures in your international speaking role, I reached out to you and begged you to come speak to us for free at Northeast High School. What compelled you to come back and speak?
You know, I think one of the things that happened in that very moment is that, 25 years earlier, I was senior class president. And I had given a commencement speech on that very stage. At that point in my life, it was much different than obviously where I was 25 years later. And I think that life usually gives you a do-over, and this was my do-over. To stand on the same stage, to deliver a speech with such impact, I just thought it was an unbelievable opportunity.
So you were a 1992 graduate of Northeast High School in Pasadena. What do you remember about your time there?
Oh my gosh. By far some of the best years of my life. It was, when I say the best years of my life, it was the best years of my life in the sense of just the friendship, just the camaraderie. There was no, times were different back then. I have 2 small daughters now, and the pressure that's on my kids now is, I never experienced that. There was no social media, there was no, I don't even remember, and maybe there was and I was just oblivious to it. There was no, the bullying wasn't there as much. There was just no pressure. And so it was more about just enjoying yourself. Now, with that being said, I had a lot of intrapersonal conflict that I was dealing with, but I was able to hide. I say to people, I hid in plain sight for 4 years. It was when I graduated that I was able to finally confront my demons and confront the things I had been struggling with inside. But for those 4 years, it was some of the best times of my life, for sure.
Awesome. So tell us about your journey after high school.
So I graduated high school, and as I just referenced I had this conflict of what I really wanted to do. And it was and this is really where my life kind of went sideways and probably took a road less traveled. A lot of my friends, you being one of them, had desires to go off to college and kind of either knew what you wanted to do or knew what the next step was. For me, I had this nagging anchor in the back of my head that was holding me back, in this theory that I just wasn't smart enough to go to college. So instead of confronting it and accepting it, I made alibis and excuses and said, you know what, I'm gonna get a job.
And you had a college scholarship offer on the table.
I had opportunities to go play basketball, yeah, and but it just wasn't for me, and it wasn't for me not because of any other reason, but I just wasn't. I didn't believe I would succeed, and when you have this fear of being found out that you're not smart enough, you divert, and so I diverted, and I got a job. I literally, instead of going to school, I got a job as a dishwasher and a houseman, a steward, they call it steward, and a houseman. The housemans are the guys that set up meeting rooms in hotels. I think I was making $4 an hour at a hotel in downtown Baltimore. And while all my friends were off to school, some went to Frostburg, some went to Towson, one to the Naval Academy, they were all over the place. I was washing dishes and setting tables and sorting linen at a local hotel, solely because I had this nagging belief that I just wasn't enough. But with that being said, it was at that very moment in those halls of that hotel that I started to realize that at some point I was going to have to confront this idea that I wasn't created to have a life of greatness, a life of abundance. And that's really where it came from. You know, I remember one night I was in a dish room, and there were dishes as far as the eye could see. And somebody had said, you know, you can't go home till all these dishes are done. And I said, no, but that's all right. I'm going to run this hotel. I'm going to run this hotel one day. Because even through all this nagging belief, I had a great facade. I had a great confidence about me, even though I was dying on the inside. And they said, really? They said, but you're just a dishwasher. And I realized that very moment, I was like, wow, is this what my life is going to be the next 30, 40 years of I'm being judged for what I do, not who I was, but did I even know who I was? And so at that moment, it started the process of, I got to figure this out. So I buried myself in work. And so I worked and I worked and I worked all the time. It didn't mean I worked at the sacrifice having fun, because I still went out and partied and had fun and did that, but I ended up getting promoted through the hotel ranks, and became a director in that hotel years later. And even at that point, even through all the promotions, I still couldn't shake this feeling. It was there, but I just hid myself in work. But you know, our core beliefs is what drives who we are. And if your core beliefs don't serve you well, you eventually you have to confront them. And it wasn't until I completely confronted them and said, who really am I and what was I created to do, that my life really took a 180-degree turn.
So then you worked in the hotel business for a while.
18 years.
Okay, being the director, and then what made you leave and try something else?
Yeah, so I believe in these shift moments, and shift stands for see how I find truth. And for a long time, I was finding truth in alibis, excuses, burying myself in work, just not confronting the challenges I had. And so I met my wife one night out, and who would be my wife one day, and I met her out, and we ended up through a long series of ups and downs on my part. I ended up moving to Philadelphia, opened a hotel. When we moved to Texas, I had kids, and I managed hotels until they were 2 years old. And I woke up one morning and I said, there's got to be more. I love what I did. I absolutely love the hotel business. It afforded me an amazing life, but there's got to be more. But the challenge is, when you don't have a college degree and all you've ever done is work in the food and beverage industry, the hotel industry, you can't get hired for anything other than the food and beverage industry. Mm-hmm. I remember I applied for, I bet I applied for no less than 30 jobs. This was 2005, 2006, and nobody would hire me. And I'm talking about positions from sales professional to, I applied for an overnight stock guy at Target, and I could not get hired anywhere. And so I had a ton of opportunities to go back into the hotel business, but I really wanted to do something different. I wanted to fulfill my passion. I was lucky enough to have an amazing, unbelievable, supportive wife that said, go find your passion, go find something you really want to do. And a friend of mine, my best friend at the time, he owned a business that installed signs for new home construction sales. And he said, you should go work in new home construction sales. And I didn't know anything about it. I knew nothing about construction. I knew nothing about sales. I knew nothing about real estate. But I loved the idea of being involved in somebody's life. When somebody buys a home, there's always a story. There's a story that they're going to raise their kids in it. There's a story that they're going to retire and that they're downsizing. There's always a story. And I just thought it'd be cool to be part of that. I literally wanted that hallmark moment of being involved in somebody's life and contributing. So I applied for a position at a new home construction, national new home construction builder. And lo and behold, on the first interview, they hired me, which I couldn't believe. I was like, really, you're going to hire me? Well, nobody had told me in 2006 we were in the worst housing crisis in the history of the country. The lady on the other end of the interview desk probably was thinking, wow, somebody actually wants to come into the industry, because everybody was leaving the industry. But here's where not knowing what I didn't know actually was the greatest gift in the world. I didn't know that we were in the worst housing crisis in the history of the country. I didn't know that people didn't want it. I didn't have any preconceived notions. I just went in and I led with my heart, and every customer that I met, every prospect that I met, I told them why I wanted to do this. I just want to be involved in your life. I want to help. I want to help fulfill whatever it is you're trying to achieve in this home. And I did unbelievably well. I became the #1 salesperson in the country, year after year. It wasn't about the money. I wasn't commission focused. I was mission focused. And it's really a different mindset when you live your life mission focused. And my mission was to contribute to the well-being of others. And so I did that for a number of years and had a ton of success. And I still, to this day, I can tell you the name of every person I ever sold a home to. I can tell you their story. Because at the end of my life, that is what to me will matter, not anything else other than what impact I had on somebody's life.
That's excellent. So what took you from home sales to being an international speaker?
That's such a weird, like it's amazing if you think about the whole idea. I still find myself in disbelief sometimes. Maybe disbelief's not the right word, but just in amazement of how amazing life is. Because here you have a guy who didn't have a college degree, struggled with this I am not enough mentality almost my entire life, and then manages hotels and then goes into real estate, does really well. And I was in real estate and I was doing new home construction. I met a guy who owned a training company, and our company had gone through the training, and after a couple of years he said, Chad, you should come work for me. You should do sales training for me. And I said, nah, that's not me. That's not me. I've never been shy. I've never lacked confidence, but that's definitely not my thing. He said, no, you'd be good. And the more I thought about it, it took a while, but the more I thought about it, I thought that it was just a bigger platform to contribute to people. Now, in the real estate world, I was contributing to people fulfilling their dream of home ownership and creating that life inside the box. But now it would be about helping other sales professionals create their dreams and have the success that I was having. And again, not about money, about total life fulfillment. And so I finally realized that you're given this platform, and it's up to you to decide how you're going to use it. And here was an opportunity for me to have another platform. So I finally said yes. I spoke to my wife, and again, amazingly supportive, unbelievable woman, to say, yeah, do it, go for it. And so I went to work for him, and I was training new home sales professionals around the country. He had a huge company, a great organization, and I would go around the country and work with salespeople on selling homes, and did really well. But what happened was, soon it became not just about sales. See, most people think that training people is about giving them the tricks to the trade, or to giving them the behaviors. Go do this behavior, call somebody like this, follow up like this. When really, it's really not about that. Success isn't about just the behaviors. See, if you only train somebody to do behaviors, if it's not congruent with their beliefs, they won't sustain it. That's why diets don't work. That's why people that want to lose weight, they sign up on January 1st or some point during the year, and they say, you know what, I'm gonna start going to the gym, and it lasts for about 20 or 30 days. And somebody once told them, well, it takes 30 days to create a habit, which is absolutely true. But if whatever behavior you're trying to change isn't supported by a strong belief, then you'll find any reason to abandon it. It's when your beliefs and your behaviors are in line and congruent that you have true success. So I found myself talking to salespeople and talking to leaders, not about how to sell something or how to build something, but how to believe in what you're doing, how to believe in yourself, how to believe that you're worthy of a life of love and abundance and success. See, most people, the biggest driving factor isn't laziness or procrastination, it's lack of belief in self. Because when you believe in yourself, you'll do the behaviors to be successful. When you don't believe in yourself, you'll do the behaviors that are required to get by, and it's a totally different outcome at the end. So what happened was, people started recognizing that, and I started being asked to do keynotes on motivation or keynotes on beliefs, and then it branched outside of just home building. It's I had a bank call me, and then I had a car company call me, and then I had an engineering company call me, and then I had
AACPS.
and then I had Dot Arida call me.
So what do you like most about what you do?
I will tell you that I've spoken to CEOs of billion-dollar companies. I've spoken to thousands. Last night I was trying to figure out how many people I've spoken to in 2017, or spoken in front of in 2017. And I think this year I'm up to 13 or 14,000 people this year I spoke to. And every one of them is a what I'd call a cannonball moment for me. But I was giving a talk to one of the schools here, one of the events you'd asked me to go to, and I was invited to go to. And I went and I spent the whole day at this school. I think it was South River Middle School or
Central Middle.
Yeah, Central Middle. And I was able to spend the whole day with these 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and had a great, some really great discussions. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, I was at another event, maybe it was a little longer, and the instructor at that school had come up to me before the event, and she wanted to thank me for speaking at the school. And she gave me the gift, and this was the single greatest gift I've ever received in my entire life. And it was a binder. It was a binder. And in it was about 300 to 400 handwritten letters to me that I'm sure the teacher said, all right, everybody write Chad a letter and thank him, right? So I'm sure it was an assignment. But what was in those letters, and I still have this, it's on my desk today, and there's not a week that goes by that I don't open this binder and just grab a letter and start reading it. And it was from these Anne Arundel County School students. And they talked about the impact that day, that talk had in their life. And for me, if you want to know your place in this world, and you ask what I love most is that feeling of significance and that feeling of contribution, that feeling of love and connection when you know that you made an impact on somebody's life. See, I believe the return on investment for doing the right thing always pays. And it goes back to what I said earlier about being mission focused, not commission focused, but mission focused. And so what I love most is that I get to fulfill my mission of contributing to the well-being of others every single day. And to me, that as long as that's my driving force, that's enough for me.
So you've given your time and talents to Anne Arundel County Public Schools in many ways. You've done 2 student leadership conferences, multiple school-specific presentations, an assistant principals conference in 2017, and the 2017 Unlocking Our Potential conference. What motivates you to keep coming back to us?
Yeah, because I think that I see a lot of students. I see myself in a lot of the students that I go to. Every time I come to one of the schools, I see myself in a student or 2 or 3 or most. And I think, if I would have known back then what I know now, I was surrounded by some pretty amazing people.
You were.
Right? Yes, you were one of them. I was surrounded by these great, amazing people, and the culture around me was phenomenal. But at some point, it really takes somebody pouring into you. And to me, the journey that I had to get to where I am was long. It was hard, but I wouldn't change one bit of it. I wouldn't change one bit of it. But for me, my goal, my mission, is to affect that student right now who's struggling with this desire and this belief. And I think that the biggest disease in facing us as a society is the disease of I'm not enough. This disease of feeling worthless and feeling shame. And so for me, I keep coming back because I'm hoping every time I come back, even if I speak to 500, 600, 700 people, 1,000 people, if I affect one of them, if one of them leaves feeling I am enough. I was in a mall 2 weeks ago, and it was down in Anne Arundel County. It was the big mall at the casino, Arundel Mills Mall. And I forget what I was doing there, but I walked in, and there was a person walking, just shopping, and they were with a young person, a young lady, and she was with her family, it looked like, and she had on one of my bracelets. So I don't go anywhere without this bracelet, right? And so I give them to all your students, and all it says is I am enough, right? And at that very moment, I was in such awe, such sense of gratitude, that at some point I'd spoken in front of her. At some point I'd given her a bracelet, and she was still wearing it. I hadn't spoken to one of your schools in months. And so for me, I keep coming back because of that girl that hopes that she keeps the bracelet on and reminds herself every day that she's enough. So as long as I do that, as long as I believe I can keep having an impact and keep contributing, I'll keep coming back.
And we'll keep having you. So this year you were honored at the Superintendent's Breakfast, where you were celebrated as a community partner. We're very blessed to have you as a supporter. Tell us what is going on with your new company, Cannonball Moments.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so it's been a year of craziness. So I left the company I was with last year, the beginning of 2017, and the reason why was because when you have a belief and you have a desire, and sometimes you just got to jump and do it on your own. And it was time for me to do that. And so I wasn't sure what 2017 would hold, but it's been amazing. It's been unbelievable. I have clients all over the world. I have a client in the Middle East. I've been to everywhere, and it just keeps growing. And it keeps growing by word of mouth. It keeps growing by, again, doing the right thing for the right reasons. I've hired employees. I've moved into a new office. I'm getting ready to hire some more employees this month, and so my base is growing. My platform is growing, and what's awesome about that is understanding that I'm able to affect more change. So 2017 has been a phenomenal year. 2018 is going to be even better, as long as I can keep staying mission focused.
And one of my favorite stories is where your Cannonball Moments name comes from. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. So people often ask, Cannonball Moment, such a weird name. Where do you come from? And they don't understand that if it's a cannonball in a pool. So we have this pool at our home, and I understand that most people have a pool in their home in Maryland. But for me, this is different. My wife and I had put this pool in our backyard 3 or 4 years ago, and growing up without a lot of money, to have an in-ground pool and have this amazing thing, be able to contribute this to my wife, my kids, myself, I just have a lot of gratitude for. So it wasn't about the pool. This pool is just a symbol of, you do the right things will happen for you. So anyway, we were having a party, and a friend of mine jumped in the pool. We were standing there in clothes, everybody's getting ready to leave, and he just turns and does a cannonball in the pool, which was just so strange, right? He's fully clothed, what's he doing? And so, you never want to make a guy look bad, so I turned fully dressed and do the cannonball in the pool too, and then there's two crazy guys in the pool in their clothes. And so my wife, who is very, shall we say, conservative, not spontaneous, she, out of nowhere, she does a cannonball in the pool. Now, we're in the middle of this party, and all of a sudden, 20, 30 adults are jumping in the pool. My daughters and their friends, who are all inside at this time of night, they come running out, and they don't know what's going on. And I have twin daughters, and they're standing on the pool deck, and they're like, Dad, what do we do? What do we do? And it was one of those moments, and I say this a lot in my talks, that if this is the last moment I think of before I leave this earth, it would be the greatest moment to leave to, the greatest thought to leave to. And this is, my daughters, I just said, just go for it. Just cannonball. And so there's about 7 feet from our house to the pool. And, you got to get a running start if you're going to do a proper cannonball. So they back up to the house, and they just run. And I swear, time stopped. Time just went in slow motion at that very moment. And I was looking up at them, and our eyes met as they left the ground, and they just had this look of just unbelievable fulfillment, happiness, and love, everything that is right in the world in that very moment. And they cannonballed in the pool. And at that very moment, I realized that life isn't about the struggles and the heartaches. Life is about those little moments that happen every single day that give us fulfillment and love and joy. And I made a vow to my wife and my kids that very day, and this was years ago, that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to create as many cannonball moments for them and myself and others as humanly possible, because that's what life is all about. So when I started my own company, I wanted to have a company about success, but what I really wanted to create was a life of Cannonball moments for people around me. So that reminds me every day what my mission is.
And I love that. And we love the work that you do with our school system. We love that you come and talk to our students and our teachers, and you're making a big impact here, and we're happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.